Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's External Affairs Minister makes suo motu statement on situation in West Asia in both houses of the Parliament, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi is closely monitoring developments, asserts India favours peace, dialogue and diplomacy. Iran appoints Khamenei's son Mojtaba to succeed as the supreme leader as Israel and Iran trade strikes on the 10th day of war. Oil prices surge over 30% on supply fears. Trump says small price to pay for defeating Iran. Asian markets fall sharply in early trade. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses post-budget webinar, says India is moving towards an innovation-driven economy. Good evening to all the viewers. To begin with the latest, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar addresses the upper house of the Parliament on the evolving situation in West Asia. In his address, External Affairs Minister said that India has urged Iran, Israel and America for peace and asked all parties to restrain. He further said that India is concerned for the safety of Indians residing in the conflict-affected region. He further said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is monitoring the overall situation and has also asked the concerned ministry to keep making efforts. He also said that India is continuously making efforts to rescue the people stuck in the region and has been successful to a large extent.
Today I was informed of a handout information put out by the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and this tells us of the efforts government is making. Yesterday there were 15 inbound flights operated by Indian carriers which arrived in India. On the 7th. On the 8th there were 49 flights and on the 9th there are 50 flights. So I want to assure the House that every effort is being made, that those who are stuck in the region, those who are transit passengers who are there, those who need to come back urgently from this region, we are making every effort for them to do so.
External Affairs Minister further mentioned that India's energy requirements are on the top priority of its diplomacy.
In view of the implications of this conflict for our energy security, I also seek to address that particular concern. Government remains committed to ensuring that fully, taking into account availability, costs and risks of the energy markets. For us, the interests of the Indian consumer has and will always be the overriding priority.
Making statement in the Lok Sabha, External Affairs Minister reiterated India's stand on the security of Indian diaspora in Iran.
Once the conflict commenced, the Indian embassy has facilitated the relocation of several Indian students in Tehran to places outside Tehran. An advisory update with emergency contact helplines was issued on 3 March. Similarly, facilitation was extended to pilgrims who were there in Iran for their internal movement.
He further said that India has taken an opportunity to bring back the Indians through commercial as well as non-commercial flights in conflict-affected countries.
That our diplomats are working hard to assist stranded transit passengers in hubs like Dubai, Doha and Abu Dhabi. They have facilitated international border crossings for Indian nationals, including from UAE to Oman and from Qatar, Kuwait and Bahrain to Saudi Arabia. Wherever there has been a partial opening of airspace, we have approved and undertaken commercial flights, including non-scheduled flights for the return of Indian passengers. Our estimate is that about 67,000 of our nationals have done so as a result.
Speaking in the upper house of the Indian Parliament, Civil Aviation Minister Kinjarapu Ram Mohan Naidu addressed the developing situation in West Asia. The minister said that the government is actively collaborating with the airlines and other concerned authorities to ensure the safety of commuters.
Whatever best we can do in terms of having safe operations and making people travel from those destinations back to India, we are able to do with the help of the airlines. They have also been very considerate, even though there is an active field that is there in the airspace in West Asia. They have been thoroughly looking at these slots where they are safe to operate and where the airports are open. They are trying to operate to these destinations. Until now, around 90,000 people have been able to travel in the last 1 week itself. And we are seeing the situation might get better in the days forward, so that more people can also travel through civil aviation.
Now, Mojtaba Khamenei has been appointed as the new supreme leader of Iran 9 days after his father, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed in US-Israeli strikes amid the escalating West Asia war. The decision was announced by the 88-member Assembly of Experts, which said it acted swiftly despite what it called aggression by the United States and Israel. The 56-year-old new supreme leader is widely seen as a hardliner close to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and is expected to continue his father's policy amid intensifying regional conflict. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump had previously warned that any successor without American approval will not last for long. Israel had also previously said that any new successor to the Ayatollah would be targeted. Russian President Vladimir Putin has congratulated Mojtaba on his appointment as Iran's new leader. Putin said he was confident Khamenei would continue his father's work with honor and unite the Iranian people in the face of several trials. Let's try to understand more about Mojtaba Khamenei. Well, born on the 8th of September in the year 1969 in the holy city of Mashhad in eastern Iran, Mojtaba is one of 6 children of the late supreme leader. He is the only child of the former supreme leader to hold a public position despite having no official post. He is regarded as close to conservatives, notably because of his ties with Revolutionary Guards, the ideological arm of the Islamic Republic's military. The US Treasury Department imposed sanctions on Mojtaba in 2019 during President Trump's first term. Opponents have notably accused him of playing a role in violent crackdown that followed the re-election of ultra-conservative President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in 2009 that triggered a vast protest movement. On the religious front, Mojtaba studied theology in the holy city of Qom, south of Tehran, where he also taught. He attained the rank of Hujjat al-Islam, a title given to mid-ranking clerics below that of Ayatollah, held by his father and by revolutionary leader Ruhollah Khamenei. The Assembly of Experts has 88 members who are elected every 8 years. Meanwhile, global oil prices have rocketed past $110 per barrel on Monday, marking the sharpest single-day surge exceeding 30% since 2022. The spike was fueled by intensifying US-Israel war against Iran, which has completely halted maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz and triggered production cuts by major producers including Iraq and Kuwait. Brent crude rose more than 15% to trade between $107 and $108, while U.S. benchmark West Texas Intermediate climbed to comparable levels above $107. Markets are gripped by fears of sustained supply disruptions that could remove millions of barrels per day from global availability, with analysts warning of further volatility if the conflict escalates. US President Donald Trump on Sunday downplayed the war-driven surge in global oil prices, calling it a temporary inconvenience amid the ongoing US-led military campaign against Iran. In a Truth Social post, Trump stated that short-term oil price increases will drop rapidly when the destruction of Iran's nuclear threat is over, and described them as a very small price to pay for US and world safety and peace. He added, and I quote him here, "Only fools would think differently," unquote. The comments come as escalating US and Israeli strikes on Iran disrupt key shipping routes like the Strait of Hormuz, fueling market volatility. Now, Qatar has condemned an Iranian attack on a residential facility in Al-Kharj in Saudi Arabia that killed 2 civilians and injured several others. Doha described the strike as a flagrant violation of international law and a dangerous escalation threatening regional security. Qatar rejected Iran's justifications for targeting countries in the region and urged respect for international law and principles of good neighborliness. It also expressed full solidarity with Saudi Arabia and extended condolences to the victims' family. Now, an extraordinary ministerial meeting of the Arab League Council in Riyadh condemned the recent Iranian attacks on several Arab countries amid the ongoing West Asian war involving the US, Israel and Iran. The participants of the meeting denounced the targeting of civilians, vital facilities and diplomatic missions and discussed ways to strengthen joint Arab action to enhance regional security and stability. French President Emmanuel Macron spoke with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on Sunday ahead of his trip to Cyprus amid the US-Israel-Iran war in the West Asia. President Macron said that he urged Tehran to immediately halt strikes against countries in the region during his phone call. He also called for guarantees of freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. Macron also spoke with US President Donald Trump. However, the details of the conversation have not been disclosed. European Union leaders Antonio Costa and Ursula von der Leyen will hold a video conference with West Asian leaders on Monday to discuss the situation in the region. A spokesperson for European Union Council, President Antonio Costa, said on Friday that the exchange will provide an opportunity to hear leaders' assessments of the situation and to discuss further support from the EU and its member states to countries in the region, as well as ways to bring the current conflict to an end. Earlier, foreign ministers of all 27 EU members discussed the situation in Iran and the broader West Asia with their counterparts from Gulf Cooperation Council in a video call on Thursday. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has said that European Union must be prepared to project its power more assertively, as it can no longer rely on a rule-based system against threats and must determine if its institutions and systems help or hinder its credibility. Speaking at a press conference in Brussels, von der Leyen said that while the European Union would always defend and uphold the rule-based system, Europe could no longer rely on it to defend its interests.
But at the same time, these attempts to label today's world mask two tangible and structural realities which are far from important for Europe. The first is that Europe can no longer be a custodian of the old world order, for a world that has gone and will not return. We will always defend and uphold the rules-based system that we helped to build with our allies, but we can no longer rely on it as the only way to defend our interests. You will hear different views about whether the conflict in Iran is a war of choice or war of necessity. But I believe this debate partly misses the point, because Europe must focus on the reality of the situation, to see the world as it actually is today. And I want to be clear. There should be no tears shed for the Iranian regime.
Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Bangladesh introduces fuel rationing as the war in Middle East worsens as an energy crunch follows.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. After that short break, you're watching DD India Live. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a post-budget webinar on the theme Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, fulfilling aspirations of the people. He highlighted key sectors such as health, education, skill development and sports as crucial drivers of inclusive growth.
Addressing experts and policymakers, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, fulfilling the aspirations of citizens lies at the core of this year's union budget. He emphasized that sectors like education, health, tourism, sports and culture will play a major role in achieving the goal of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said India is moving towards a vision of preventive and holistic healthcare. Over the past few years, the country's health infrastructure has been strengthened with medical colleges opening in hundreds of districts. Through initiatives like Ayushman Bharat and Arogya Mandirs, access to healthcare services has been expanded to villages across the country. Highlighting the importance of innovation, the Prime Minister said India is steadily moving towards an innovation-driven economy. He stressed the need to link education with the real-world economy and increase focus on emerging sectors such as artificial intelligence, automation, the digital economy, and design-driven manufacturing. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi also highlighted the growing global popularity of yoga and Ayurveda and the expanding sports ecosystem in the country through initiatives like Khelo India. He emphasized that as India prepares for future technologies, it is essential to ensure that no daughter is held back due to lack of opportunities. Prime Minister Narendra Modi called for greater collaboration among experts, institutions, and industry to ensure effective implementation of budget announcements and to accelerate inclusive growth across the country. Bureau Report, DD India.
Bangladesh has introduced fuel rationing as West Asia conflict worsens the energy crunch in import-dependent nations. The Bangladesh Petroleum Corporation has limited fuel sales for most vehicles after attacks on Iran by the US and Israel and Tehran's retaliatory strikes across the Gulf that raised fears of supply disruptions. Bangladesh imports nearly 95% of its oil and gas needs. Authorities have also capped fuel purchases for several vehicles after panic buying and hoarding led to long queues at fuel stations across the country. Bangladesh has ordered all public and private universities to close from Monday, bringing forward the Eid al-Fitr holidays as part of an emergency measure to conserve electricity and fuel amid worsening energy crisis. Officials said the closure is intended to reduce electricity consumption on campuses and ease traffic congestion, helping lower fuel use. The move comes as Bangladesh faces growing uncertainty over fuel and gas supplies following disruptions to global energy markets caused by the ongoing conflict in the West Asia. Authorities have also imposed daily limits on fuel sales and ordered foreign curriculum schools and private coaching centers to suspend operations temporarily to further reduce electricity consumption. Now, India's benchmark stock indices, Sensex and Nifty, plunged in Monday trade, hit by crude oil prices soaring past $100 per barrel and a bearish global equity trend. The 30-share BSE Sensex crashed 1,352.74 points to 77,566.16, while the NSE Nifty fell 422.4 points to 24,028.05. Experts have warned that prolonged high oil prices will severely impact major importers. The 7th edition of Dharma Guardian 2026 concluded in Chaubatia in North Indian state of Uttarakhand after 2 weeks of joint drills between the Indian Army and Japan Ground Self-Defense Force. Held from the 24th of February till the 8th of March, the exercise focused on counter-insurgency and counter-terrorism operations, urban warfare and combat training in complex terrains. A key highlight was the validation phase called Exercise Asahi Shakti, a 48-hour simulated operation involving intelligence patrols, cordon and search missions, heliborne operations and hostage rescue drills. Now, the Air Defence Brigade of the Indian Army's Southern Command conducted a high-intensity field firing exercise at Pokhran on Monday, validating precision engagement capabilities against modern aerial threats, including autonomous and swarm drones. Amid the rapidly evolving nature of warfare, the exercise showcased high operational readiness, seamless battle drills and accelerated tech absorption, reinforcing the cutting edge of Army air defence to dominate the emerging aerial battle space and remain mission-ready to safeguard the nation's skies. India has sent a humanitarian consignment of 1,000 metric tons of rice to Malawi to support food security after drought caused by the El Nino effect. The consignment was dispatched from Nhava Sheva port as part of India's humanitarian assistance to the African nation facing food shortages. The initiative reflects India's continued commitment to supporting partners in Global South and strengthening South-South cooperation. A proud moment for Project Cheetah as Jwala, a Namibian cheetah and successful 3-time mother, gave birth to 5 cubs on Monday at Kuno National Park. With this, the number of Indian-born thriving cubs has risen to 33, marking the 10th successful cheetah on Indian soil, another important milestone in India's cheetah conservation journey. This milestone reflects the tireless efforts of veterinarians, field staff and everyone involved. With these cubs, India's cheetah population rises to 53, which is a historic moment for wildlife conservation. Now from sports, India scripted history at Narendra Modi Cricket Stadium on Sunday, defeating New Zealand to lift the ICC Men's T20 Cricket World Cup trophy. Powered by an overall blistering batting display and a match-winning spell from Jasprit Bumrah, India sealed a dominant 96-run victory. Here's more.
In the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, India and New Zealand took to the field on Sunday for the T20 World Cup final and both had the opportunity to make history. New Zealand won the toss and chose to bowl first. India got off to a brilliant start with Abhishek Sharma and Sanju Samson putting on 98 runs for the first wicket in 7 overs. Abhishek Sharma, Sanju Samson and Ishan Kishan kept the scoreboard ticking with aggressive batting, putting India firmly in command. India posted 255 runs for the loss of 5 wickets, highest score in a T20 World Cup final. Chasing 256 runs, New Zealand could never get into the rhythm and kept losing wickets at regular intervals. Kiwis were eventually bowled out for 159 and India won the match by 96 runs. Jasprit Bumrah took 4 wickets and was named Player of the Match, while Sanju Samson was awarded Player of the Tournament.
India lost the final against Australia in this stadium, but finally the jinx is broken. Team India was not only facing New Zealand, they were also facing some challenges related to the records. And they have now become the first team to defend their World T20 title and also the first team to win the T20 World Cup on their home soil. With camera person SP Dubey, this is Suchitra reporting for DD India in Ahmedabad.
An Indian women's team opened the FIH Hockey World Cup qualifier campaign with a dominant 4-0 victory over Uruguay in Hyderabad. The host made a bright start, dominating possession and pressing hard for an early breakthrough. However, their inability to pick the right final pass, coupled with Uruguay's resolute defense, ensured the opening quarter ended goalless. But they broke the deadlock in the second quarter, with Sunelita Topo scoring the opener. Subsequently, Ishika Lalremsiami and Rutuja Dadasupisal also found the back of the net to ensure an emphatic victory for the home side. India, with all 3 points, rose to the top of the Pool B, above Scotland, who beat Wales by 1-0. And that's all for this edition of TD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on TD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on TD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching TD India Live. Namaskar.